A woman came to Gautama Buddha. Her husband had died. She did not come in the first days, when grief still has a voice and tears are shared with others. She came later, when the rituals were finished, when the ashes had been given to the river, when people had stopped asking how she was. She came when the world had moved on and only she remained standing in a place that no longer existed. She bowed before the Buddha. She did not sit. She did not cry. Her grief had gone beyond expression. It had become weight, density, a silent pressure inside the chest. She said, "My husband has died. I loved him. Tell me, does reincarnation happen? If there is rebirth, do people meet again? And if they meet again, can they recognize each other?" The Buddha did not answer. He looked at her without haste. Not with sympathy, not with rejection. He looked as one looks at a knot, patiently, knowing that pulling will only tighten it. Silence spread. The woman became aware of her breath, something she had not felt clearly since death entered her house. She wondered if she was meant to sit. She did not move. Then the Buddha spoke. "Woman," he said, "you have asked 3 questions. But they are not 3. She listened. You ask about reincarnation. You ask about meeting again. You ask about recognition. All 3 are born from one refusal. She lifted her eyes. You refuse to accept impermanence. The words were simple, but they struck deeply. You say, "My husband has died." The Buddha continued. First understand what has died. Only then ask what continues. He paused. When you say, "Husband," what do you mean? She searched inside herself and found only images. His face, his voice, his hands, moments laid upon moments. The Buddha continued without waiting for her reply. Was he his name? Names are sounds agreed upon by others. Was he his body? The body you lived beside yesterday was not the body of 10 years ago. Was he his thoughts? Thoughts arise and vanish faster than breath. Was he a memory of him? Memory exists only now. He looked at her steadily. You lived with change every day. Yet you speak now as if something unchanging has been taken from you. She felt resistance, then confusion. You stitched moments together, he said, and named the stitching husband. She whispered, but love was real. Yes, the Buddha replied, love was real. But you confused love with permanence. He bent and traced a circle in the dust with his finger. This circle exists because my finger moves. When the movement stops, where does the circle go? She had no answer. You loved a movement, he said. When the movement ended, you demanded a destination. She gathered courage. Blessed one, she said, answer me clearly. Is there reincarnation or not? The Buddha's gaze became sharp. There is continuation, he said, but there is no one who continues. There is no traveler moving from body to body. There is no soul carrying memory like a bundle. There is no husband waiting behind death. His voice was firm, almost severe. What continues is craving. What continues is habit. What continues is ignorance repeating itself. Fear arose in her chest. Then he is gone, she asked. You are still trapped in opposites, the Buddha replied. Gone and not gone are inventions of thought. He said, when a flame goes out, where does it go? She shook her head. Then why do you keep asking where he went? Her question began to loosen, but the pain remained. She tried again. If causes meet again, if paths cross again, will we recognize each other? The Buddha answered without delay. Recognition belongs to memory. Memory belongs to mind. Mind belongs to conditions. Conditions dissolve. He looked directly at her. You did not recognize him before you met him. You recognized a form and attached a story. Recognition is not truth. It is habit. Her breathing became shallow. Then love becomes meaningless, she said. No, the Buddha replied. Love becomes painful only when you demand that it defeat impermanence. He continued, you did not suffer because you loved. You suffer because you wanted love to guarantee continuity. She sat down without being told. The Buddha did not soften his voice. You want rebirth to promise reunion. You want reunion to justify grief. You want grief to prove that love was special. This is how suffering multiplies itself. Tears fell silently. You are not grieving because he died, he said. You are grieving because you believed something permanent had existed. She felt something inside her give way. You ask whether you will meet him again. The Buddha continued. I ask you something harder. Did you ever meet him even once without projection? She looked up, startled. You met roles. You met expectations. You met needs and fears. True meeting does not depend on time. He paused, allowing the silence to deepen. You are rebirthing him every moment in memory. Each rebirth wounds you again. This is the rebirth you must end. The truth of it struck her sharply. What should I do with my love? She asked. The Buddha answered, remove the owner. Love without clinging is vast. Love with memory is narrow and painful. The wind moved through the trees. You came asking whether lovers meet again. The Buddha said slowly. I tell you this, when understanding arises, there is no one left to wait, no one left to return, no one left to recognize. And yet nothing has been lost. The Buddha remained silent after these words, as if even speaking further might turn truth into doctrine. The woman stayed bored, unmoving. The wind passed through the leaves again, slower now, as though listening. After a long while, the Buddha spoke once more, not to answer her questions, but to dissolve the ground from which they had arisen. Woman, he said, you heard my words, but you are still listening from the place of loss. She raised her head slightly. You think something precious has been taken from you? He continued. But look carefully. What you call loss is only the ending of repetition. She frowned, not in disagreement, but in effort. You woke beside him many mornings. You heard the same voice speak familiar words. You walked the same paths together. Gradually, repetition became comfort, and comfort became identity. He paused. When repetition ends, the mind calls it loss. But truth does not recognize repetition as possession. He looked at her steadily. You are not suffering because he is gone. You are suffering because the familiar has ended. The words landed quietly, but with weight. Tell me, the Buddha said, when the sun sets, do you say it has been stolen from you? She shook her head. You understand the sun sets, he said, but you refuse to understand that relationships also set. He continued, his voice low, deliberate. You ask whether souls meet again. You ask whether love continues. But you have not yet asked the deeper question. She waited. Why must love continue in the same form for it to be real? She felt something tighten inside her chest. You believe that if love does not repeat itself, it has failed. This belief is the root of your suffering. The Buddha leaned slightly forward. You loved a man, he said. But love is not a contract with time. Love is a response to what is present. He paused. When presence ends, love does not need to search for a future. Only attachment does. She whispered, almost to herself, but my heart still moves toward him. The Buddha answered immediately, yes, because habit has momentum. He said, when a wheel has been turning for many years, it does not stop the moment the hand releases it. Grief is the turning of the wheel after the hand is gone. She closed her eyes. The Buddha continued, you think you want reunion, but what you really want is relief from uncertainty. He said, you want to know that what mattered will matter again. You want confirmation that love was not a mistake. His voice became firmer. But love is not validated by repetition. Love is validated by clarity. He let silence stretch again, then spoke, you are waiting for your husband. But waiting is the subtlest form of clinging. She opened her eyes, startled. As long as you wait, the Buddha said, you remain turned toward the past or the imagined future. Waiting keeps you from seeing what is here. He gestured gently to the ground beneath them. This earth does not wait. This breath does not wait. This moment does not wait. Only the mind waits. The woman's breathing slowed. But if I stop waiting, she said, does that not mean I stop loving? The Buddha answered, no. It means you stop demanding. He said, love that demands continuity is fear. Love that rests in what was is wisdom. He continued, unfolding the truth slowly, layer by layer. You believe that recognition makes love meaningful. But recognition is only memory comparing shapes. If recognition were necessary, a mother would not love her child before knowing its name. She listened intently now, no longer resisting. You did not recognize him when you were born, the Buddha said. You did not recognize him in childhood. Yet you do not grieve those years of not knowing. He paused. Why? Because you did not yet imagine ownership. He said, ownership enters love quietly. It does not announce itself. First there is closeness, then preference, then fear of loss, then identity. By the time death arrives, love has been replaced by attachment. And attachment demands answers. The Buddha's voice softened slightly, though it remained precise. You came asking metaphysical questions, but your suffering is psychological. He said, you want metaphysics to heal what only understanding can dissolve. She bowed her head again. Tell me, the Buddha said, if you were certain you would meet him again, would your suffering end? She considered this. No, she admitted softly. I would still wait. Yes, the Buddha said. And waiting is suffering postponed, not removed. He continued, you want certainty. But certainty is the opposite of freedom. He said, life is uncertain by nature. Love that demands certainty is already broken. The woman felt a strange loosening inside her chest, as if something tightly held had begun to release. The Buddha observed this and continued, you think that if there is no reunion, life becomes meaningless. But meaning does not come from continuation. Meaning comes from presence without resistance. He paused, then asked, when you sat beside him in silence, were you thinking of the future? She shook her head. And yet those moments were full, he said. He continued, that fullness did not depend on tomorrow. It depended on being undivided. He said, you are now divided by memory. One part of you is here. Another part lives in images of what was. Division is suffering. The Buddha straightened slightly. You are not meant to carry the dead into the future. You are meant to let the dead dissolve into understanding. She whispered, but forgetting feels like betrayal. The Buddha replied firmly, forgetting is not betrayal. Clinging is. He said, when you cling to the image of the dead, you do not honor them. You imprison yourself. He continued, honor does not mean repetition. Honor means letting what has fulfilled its nature come to rest. The woman felt tears again, but these were different, not sharp, not desperate. Grief ends, the Buddha said, not when the dead return, but when the living stop arguing with reality. He let these words settle. You are alive, he said. Do not live as a shrine. A long silence followed. The Buddha spoke again, more slowly now, as if closing a circle. You came asking about rebirth. I have spoken to you about release. You came asking about recognition. I have spoken to you about presence. You came asking about reunion. I have spoken to you about the end of waiting. He concluded, when understanding arises, love does not disappear. It simply stops needing a future. The woman bowed deeply, touching her forehead to the earth. When she stood again, nothing extraordinary had happened. The world had not changed. Death had not been undone. No promise had been given. But the weight she carried no longer pressed forward into tomorrow. She turned and walked away, not hoping, not waiting, not asking where anyone had gone. And for the first time since her husband's death, her steps were her own.